In 1965, a man was shot down over Vietnam and spent the next 7 years in a POW camp, tortured, in solitary confinement, with no idea if he'd ever go home. He didn't survive by hoping. He survived by sorting. Every day, he split his reality into 2 boxes and only worked on one of them. Here's the problem most of us actually have. It's not that we lack willpower, it's that we spend it on the wrong things. You rehearse an argument with your boss that hasn't happened yet. You refresh the news for the 4th time today. You lie awake replaying a decision someone else already made. That's not laziness. That's misallocation. There's a filter the Stoics built for exactly this 20 centuries ago, and modern psychology independently rediscovered the same mechanism. Today we build the actual system, not the poster quote version. Epictetus wasn't a philosopher theorizing from comfort. He was born a slave in the Roman Empire, and ancient accounts suggest his leg was permanently damaged by a master's cruelty. He had less control over his own life than almost anyone we'd study today. And yet the philosophy he taught, later compiled by his student Arrian into the Enchiridion, opens with a single division, not 10 rules. One split. Some things are up to us, he said. Our judgments, our impulses, our desires, our aversions. Other things are not up to us. Our body, our property, our reputation, our position. That's the entire operating system. And the reason it's radical isn't the idea. It's who was saying it. A man with almost no external power told Rome's most powerful men that control was never about circumstance. It was about where you kept placing your attention. So, when's the last time you were anxious about something? And if you're honest, was it actually in the up to us box? Or had you just been treating it like it was? The box is smaller than you think. Most people assume focus on what you control means controlling effort, attitude, and outcome if they just try hard enough. That's not the claim. You control your judgments, your effort, your response. You do not control whether the effort works. You do not control other people's opinions, the economy, your health outcomes. You can influence these, but influence isn't control, and collapsing that distinction is where the anxiety comes from. Triage is a verb, not a mindset. Most modern takes treat this as a comforting idea you remember when stressed. That's not what Epictetus describes. He describes a practice, repeated until reflexive. Triage, in its original sense, means rapid sorting under pressure. That's the actual skill, not calm acceptance, but speed of correct categorization. The goal was never to feel less. It was to stop wasting cycles on the wrong box. Knowing the theory doesn't make you fast at it. So what does? In 1966, psychologist Julian Rotter published research on what he called locus of control, the degree to which people believe outcomes are driven by their own actions versus external forces. People with a strong internal locus believe effort and choices drive outcomes. People with a strong external locus believe outcomes are down to luck, other people, or circumstance. Here's what's striking. Rotter's research, done independently, nearly 1900 years after Epictetus, arrived at almost the same structural insight, except Rotter was measuring a trait, and Epictetus was prescribing a discipline. Put them together and you get something neither field states alone. Locus of control isn't fixed. It's trainable through the exact repeated triage Epictetus describes. Now the case study. James Stockdale was the highest-ranking naval officer held at the Hoa Lo prison camp in Vietnam, the Hanoi Hilton. Tortured repeatedly over 7 years, held largely in isolation with no fixed release date. By any measure, almost none of his external circumstances were under his control. What he did control, his responses under interrogation, the communication code he helped build to keep other prisoners' morale intact, and his refusal to set a false timeline for release. Business researcher Jim Collins later interviewed Stockdale and found something counterintuitive. The prisoners who didn't survive well weren't the pessimists. They were the naive optimists, the ones who kept predicting, "We'll be out by Christmas," and then collapsed when Christmas came and went. Stockdale held 2 things at once: unflinching honesty about what he couldn't control, the captivity itself, alongside absolute discipline over what he could, his conduct, his focus, his contribution to the men around him. That's Epictetus's dichotomy, executed under the most extreme conditions a person can face. If it holds there, it holds in your inbox. The 2-column dump. When something's causing you stress, physically write it in 2 columns. Up to me and not up to me. Most people doing this the first time are shocked at how short the first column is. That shock is diagnostic, You're not managing the problem yet. You're finally seeing it accurately. The ownership rewrite. Rewrite each item in the up to me column as an action, not a worry. Not, I'm anxious about the presentation. Instead, I will prepare for 20 minutes and rehearse it twice. Worry has no terminal point. Action does. Epictetus never promised this makes life easier. He promised it makes your energy go where it can actually do something. Stockdale wasn't calm because his situation was survivable. It was, by any reasonable measure, close to unsurvivable. He was disciplined because he'd stopped spending anything on the box he couldn't open. That's not resignation. That's precision. The question was never whether you're in control of your life. It's whether you know, today, exactly which parts you are. If this kind of philosophy meets psychology breakdown is useful, subscribe. Next time, we look at why Marcus Aurelius' private journal contradicts almost everything people assume Stoic means.